With over 150 years of history, it's no wonder that Vaseline has made itself a household name. We've all got some in the cupboard, and with that much history comes a lot for us to talk about, including an interesting origin story, a lot of luck and some clever marketing, a hostile takeover of the brand, and a viral TikTok trend. Chapter 1: The Origins of Vaseline. Vaseline was actually invented by a man named Robert Augustus Chesebrough, who we've talked about very briefly before on this channel. I can't remember why, but he was born in London town here in England in 1837 to American parents. Chesebrough's family moved back to the US when he was still a child, and he was actually raised in New York City. By the age of 22, he was working in Brooklyn as a chemist producing kerosene from the oil of sperm whales. Kerosene was a really popular fuel at the time. However, more efficient ways and cheaper ways, actually, methods of producing kerosene were being created, such as distilling it from petroleum. So when large amounts of oils were discovered in Titusville, Pennsylvania, Chesebrough was worried that his prices would be undercut even further, essentially driving him out of business. So in 1859, he traveled to Titusville to research the new materials and opportunities this discovery might present. Whilst visiting the oil fields, he noticed that workers would apply like a dirty jelly-like substance to their cuts and their grazes and their burns, which were a common hazard of the job. The oil field workers called it rod wax and told him that it was a residue that built up on the oil rig pumps, which would have to be removed regularly or it would cause pumps to seize. However, they found that if they applied it to their cuts or burns, it soothed the pain a little and appeared to help wounds heal faster. Intrigued by these stories, Chesebrough asked if he could take some samples of this stuff, of the rod wax, back to his lab for testing. The workers were more than happy for him to do this, to let him leave with literal buckets full of this jelly, as it saved them from having to get rid of it themselves, basically. So back at his lab in Brooklyn, Chesebrough began working on extraction techniques, using heat and filtration to clean up the jelly, remove all the impurities it contained, and stop it looking so dark and dirty. In its current form, it was filthy, and it had like a foul smell, Chesebrough said. So after years of experimenting and adapting the extraction technique, testing the new product on his own cuts and burns, Chesebrough finally felt like he had perfected this formulation, whatever it is that he was after. So he patented his method in 1865, creating the triple purification method, which is still used by the Vaseline brand to this day. Now that Chesebrough had managed to refine rod wax into pure petroleum jelly, he began to sell this to pharmacies. Initially, it was marketed as like a jelly medicine, claiming that it helped heal wounds and dry skin, but he had very little luck with that to begin with. The pharmacies had never heard of his product and either weren't convinced that it quite worked or that there was any demand for it at all, to be honest. So for years he tried to convince pharmacies to carry his new creation, but with very little success. I wonder if he called it rod wax, I don't know. It wasn't until 1870, when Chesebrough branded his product as Vaseline Petroleum Jelly, that things really started to take off. This move made Vaseline one of the first branded products in North America. The name Vaseline is said by Chesebrough to be derived from the German word for water, Wasser, and the Greek word for oil, aloin. Wasserloin. I still don't get it. I don't know how that translates to Vaseline. After the new branding, Chesebrough toured the entire state of New York in like a horse-drawn carriage to promote his new miracle product, which he claimed would heal cuts, burns, rashes, and basically anything that you could rub it on. In front of an audience, he would like burn his skin with an acid or like an open flame, and then spread the jelly on his self-inflicted wound before pointing to past injuries which he claimed had been healed by his miraculous product Vaseline. Today we know that Vaseline doesn't heal cuts and burns or other wounds in the way he claimed it does, but what it does do is form a protective layer over the wound which prevents dirt and bacteria from getting in. This was very useful in the 1800s, given that one of the leading causes of death at the time was open wounds becoming infected. Regardless of the accuracy of his claims, his demonstrations worked really, really well. Not only did he manage to convince his audience of the wonderful things his product could allegedly do, but he also did something else very, very clever. He gave out free samples to those who were interested, actually making him one of the first people ever to use this type of marketing method. And it was a stroke of genius, really. Before long, he had customers harassing their local pharmacists for more Vaseline or to stock Vaseline, which the pharmacies didn't have more stock of because they all turned him down for years. But now they were convinced that there was a real demand for this product, and orders started pouring in from pharmacies all across the New York state. The launch of Vaseline is still considered an excellent example of marketing done right, and without using these methods, you could argue that Vaseline may not exist to this day. He may have just given up. It was so successful, actually, that Chesebrough had to open a new factory shortly after the launch, and by 1874, just 4 years after its new branding, 1 tin of Vaseline jelly was being sold per minute throughout the United States. That's over 1,400 tins a day. In 1875, Robert Chesebrough founded the Chesebrough Manufacturing Company to basically handle production and the sheer amount of orders he was getting and the distribution of Vaseline. The company would go on to become a leading manufacturer of personal care products in its time. Chapter 2: Beauty Marketing and Growing Popularity. And Vaseline's growth wouldn't stop there. Until now, Vaseline has mostly been known for its alleged medical properties, and all their marketing had focused on this aspect. But in the early 1880s, the brand made a smart move to start marketing their product as a beauty aid. One ad from 1881 declared that the product would keep the skin clearer, softer, and smoother than any cosmetic ever invented, and will preserve the youthful beauty and freshness of the healthy complexion. And just like his previous marketing practices, Chesebrough was making some bold, very bold claims. They kind of look pretty common nowadays because most modern brands use this marketing tactic. But again, very bold claims about the actual efficacy of his product. And back then, there wasn't much in the way of regulation of this type of thing. There was no ASA, no FTC. So you could kind of just say whatever the fuck you wanted. If you go on Pinterest and search vintage adverts, some of the claims people make about their own beauty brand is criminal. Like, they should be locked up in the past. So thinking about it, not much has really changed. Brands still make these sort of bold claims without much concern or how true they might be. They just kind of go about it a very roundabout way. But this new marketing campaign of Chesebrough's was so successful for the brand, and before long they had successfully expanded their reach into the beauty world. No longer just a medical aid, Vaseline was quickly becoming one of the most sought after beauty products on the market. One example of this was their first celebrity endorsement from American-British socialite Jenny Jerome, who was better known at the time as Lady Randolph Churchill, former wife of Randolph Churchill and mother of Sir Winston Churchill. In 1897, the San Francisco Chronicle published an article sharing the secrets of how famous women gain and retain good looks. And their lead case study was on Lady Randolph Churchill. That's too long a name. Pick a name. With articles saying that she is one of those women who are always exquisitely groomed and that she keeps her youth by means of daily lotions used in the right way. According to Lady Randolph Churchill, the right way was to rub a bit of grease into her face every night before bed, saying that sometimes she used a preparation of tallow. Do not ask me about beef tallow. I don't want to talk about it. And sometimes she used plain Vaseline. She would rub it into her forehead, mainly, as she said, for this is where the wrinkles will begin to show. Vaseline had already established itself as a staple in many women's beauty routines, but this kind of exposure really took it to a new level. By the early 1900s, Vaseline was everywhere. Every home had at least one tin in a bathroom cabinet or in the bedside table. They didn't do those type of things back then. And as far as their customers were concerned, Vaseline has an endless list of uses. Aside from healing wounds, providing relief for dry skin, and taking pride of place in many beauty routines, Vaseline was being used for a whole host of things. From understandable uses like preventing diaper rash on babies, and combining it with soot or coal to produce a makeshift mascara, to some more interesting uses like using it to preserve eggs and feeding its children to heal croup. In France, some bakers even started using Vaseline in pastries as they were trying to find a shelf-stable form of fat that wouldn't go off. Luckily, that questionable practice didn't last very long, and we don't have to eat croissants made of Vaseline. Thank God. I can't imagine what that would taste like. But well into the 20th century, many parents continued to feed their children Vaseline to help with croup and sore throats. Technically, Vaseline and other petroleum jellies are edible technically, with the FDA confirming that it meets their requirements for human consumption. But I probably wouldn't advise it. I actually think it is now, actually no, I think there was a turning point where the FDA were like, it's carcinogenic if you eat it. However, Vaseline actually doesn't contain, it's a very, very minimal amount of carcinogenic properties. So I think now the FDA are like, maybe you shouldn't eat Vaseline. This type of thing had become widespread because of Chesebrough himself, as he not only told people it was safe to eat and even beneficial to eat, but he was well known for doing it himself. Chesebrough was such a huge believer in his product and the cleanliness of his product that he says he ate at least 1 spoonful of it every single day. And during a cerebral bout of pleurisy, which is like a chest pain caused by inflammation around the lungs, he had his nurse rub him in Vaseline from head to toe, later crediting this as the reason for his recovery. How rubbing Vaseline on yourself would stop your lungs being inflamed, I don't know. I don't understand what that is, but maybe there was something to it, because Chesebrough lived to be 96 in a time when the average lifespan was just 63 years. He died in 1933, leaving behind a hugely successful company, which despite the ongoing Great Depression at the time of his death was continuing to grow and came out the other side unscathed of the economic downturn in a stronger position than most. In fact, a year after the Great Depression, the Chesebrough Manufacturing Company had total assets of $4,267,940. That's just under $96 million in today's money. That's crazy amounts of money at the time. And the brand continued its rapid growth throughout the rest of the 1900s. During World War II, the US Surgeon General commissioned the Chesebrough Manufacturing Company to produce a sterile antiseptic dressing containing petroleum jelly. And this was going to be used to help heal soldiers who had sustained burns and other serious injuries. And by the 1950s, Vaseline had become so popular that the iconic Reader's Digest started referring to Vaseline as the Wonder Jelly. Vaseline's success had made the Chesebrough Manufacturing Company one of the biggest cosmetic companies in the world. And in June 1955, they merged with one of the largest competitors, Pond's Extract Company, to form Chesebrough Ponds. Not the most original name, was it really? Chapter 3, expanding their product range and acquisition. At the time of the merger, the two companies combined had products for sale in 125 countries all around the world and manufacturing plants in 35 of those. They were truly a global company by now, but other than not particularly successful hair cream in a tube called Val Cream, at first their main focus wasn't actually on expanding the Vaseline brand. Initially, the new company focused on acquiring other smaller companies so that they could basically diversify their product range. They bought all sorts of companies, not just other beauty and cosmetic brands like Prince Machiavelli fragrances, Polyderm creams, and Seaforth and Blackwatch men's toiletries, to some more confusing acquisitions like a children's clothing company, a footwear brand, and a company that made spaghetti sauce, and even a tennis racket manufacturer. I think they may have lost sight a little bit then, but it wasn't until 1968 when they finally turned their attention to expanding Vaseline's range of products. The new product was a hand and body lotion, Vaseline Intensive Care Lotion, which was to be used for dry skin as an after-sun moisturizer. It was a good thing they finally got round to focusing on new Vaseline products, because it was a huge success, particularly in the US due to their Working Hands of America campaign. After the success of their body lotion, the 70s saw Vaseline expand this range considerably with the launch of Vaseline Intensive Care Bath Beads and Vaseline Intensive Care Bath Oil, both released in 1971. Such a 70s product, isn't it? As well as Vaseline Intensive Care Cream, Vaseline Intensive Care Baby, and Vaseline Intensive Care Wipes, all launched in 1972. And finally, the launch of their Vaseline Intensive Care Mineral Bath, Vaseline Intensive Care Herbal, and Vaseline Intensive Care Body Splash, all in 1975. They were really going for it. They were really trying to capitalize on the success of the original body lotion. All of these new products were fairly successful for the company, and they continued to grow throughout the 70s. However, the 1980s brought some issues for Chesebrough Ponds, as many of their subsidiary companies began to struggle massively, and some of their own product lines were starting to see slower sales. This led to their earnings declining massively in 1984, the first time this had happened since the two companies merged 29 years prior. Their response to this was Rather strange. They decided to buy a chemical company, Stauffer Chemical Company, for 1.25 billion in 1985. This put them into a huge amount of debt, which combined with their decreasing earnings, caught the attention of British consumer goods company Unilever, who make a habit of buying almost any company they can get their hands on, especially when they see any first sign of a struggle. And after many months of negotiations, Chesebrough Ponds were acquired by Unilever. At the end of 1986, in a hostile takeover for a price of 3.1 billion, it was under Unilever's ownership that Vaseline's hugely successful lip therapy was launched, with the product going on to become synonymous with the brand. This is in large part due to the repackaging of the lip therapy in the UK when the iconic blue and white tins launched in 1999. This particular packaging didn't launch in the US until January 2016, so it's not as iconic over there, but to many Brits, those little tins are what immediately come to mind when they hear the name Vaseline. Chapter 4: Celebrity Fans. The launch of lip therapy, along with the continuing popularity of some of their earlier products, really helped Vaseline get back on track after the decline in the early 80s. And along with the regular launch of more successful products during the 90s and early 2000s, Vaseline soon got back to being one of the most popular and well-recognized products in the beauty world. It wasn't just the regular launching of new products, however, that brought consumers back to Vaseline. Throughout their history, they've been lucky to benefit from a long list of celebrity endorsements. It started, of course, with Lady Randolph Churchill in the late 1890s, and early 1900s it continued with Marilyn Monroe in the late 40s and 50s. Apparently, Monroe claimed Vaseline helped keep her skin soft and glowy. And her makeup artist Alan Whitey Snyder gave many interviews over the years detailing how he used Vaseline as a primer and a highlighter on Marilyn Monroe, as well as his other very famous celebrity clients, including Katharine Hepburn, Doris Day, Raquel Welch. In more recent times, the list of stars just keeps growing. Jennifer Aniston uses fucking everything. She's always in these videos because she's always endorsing a very popular product. But apparently she applies it under her eyes at night to help lock in moisture and prevent wrinkles. Beyonce, Cheryl Cole, you always have to call her Cheryl Cole. She's iconically Cheryl Cole. Both say that they apply a little Vaseline to their eyelashes for a fuller and shinier look. Beyonce also claims that she smears some of the jelly on her teeth to prevent lipstick from transferring to them. And Hollywood makeup artists are still using it regularly as well. Mary Greenwell, whose clients include Uma Thurman and Kate Blanchett, says that she always has a pot of Vaseline in her makeup kit. She's been quoted as saying, if you want a really wonderful glowing look, it's the perfect product, as it'll kind of like pick up the light wherever you want the light to pick up. It gives just the right amount of shine and creates a glowing, gorgeous nude effect. On the eyelids or cheekbones, she goes on to say, just to give that extra sheen. Now, most of this publicity has been given for free for Vaseline, but in more recent years, they've been doing collaborations with celebrities in their marketing. One example of this was their 2007 Skin is Amazing campaign, where they invited consumers to share their own skin story. The campaign features stories from Hilary Duff, Dave Navarro, Minnie Driver, Layla Ali, and Grey's Anatomy star Kim Raver. Chapter 5: Slugging. But it's not just celebrity endorsements that have really helped the brand reach the heights it has. They've also benefited from a lot of attention on social media, most notably with regards to the recent slugging trend. Most of you have definitely heard of by now if you aren't bored to death of it already. If you've been anywhere near skincare TikTok, you've heard of it. But for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, it's probably none of you, to be honest with you. It's just where you basically cover your face in a thick layer of an occlusive like Vaseline or CeraVe's healing ointment. And this just works as an occlusive layer to trap all that hydration and moisture into your skin to prevent transepidermal water loss whilst you sleep. It works. It just works. Aquaphor do a great version of it as well. You do this as the final step in your nighttime routine. And yeah, it just helps seal everything in. If you have very dry and dehydrated skin, I love doing this. Slugging makes it sound like you have to coat your face in it, but you don't. This just ensures that you wake up with smooth, soft, well-hydrated skin. There are many people on TikTok who will use ridiculous amounts of Vaseline just kind of like get clicks basically. You don't have to be that dramatic, just a small layer, just a small spread over your face. In turn, this can help reduce the appearance of wrinkles and fine lines, making your skin appear younger. It can help repair the barrier, not as a product and ingredient itself, but by keeping hydration in your skin barrier is going to function properly. The practice first went viral on TikTok a few years ago after supposedly becoming a popular K-beauty trend. It wasn't. It's not a K-beauty trend. People kind of spread this misinformation. Media love to be like the craziest thing coming out of Korea, then it's just something that everyone's been doing for the longest time anyway. And since then, however, it's spread with over 195 million views on TikTok to date under the hashtag slugging, as well as Instagram and YouTube being full of slugging content. It's a practice that has even had plenty of celebrities trying it, with Lucy Liu and Beyonce known to use this method. And although slugging really just refers to the face, of course people on TikTok have to take it that one step further, and they've introduced body slugging. It's just using a body lotion, to be honest with you. And it's even gone on to hair slugging. It's getting a little bit ridiculous. But this isn't a trend that's surprising to dermatologists and longtime skincare enthusiasts at all. Vaseline and petroleum jelly in general has been a popular product for over 150 years, and its occlusive properties are well known for effectively locking in moisture and keeping skin hydrated and plump. In an article for CNET, board-certified dermatologist Dr. Hadley King said she agrees with the effectiveness of slugging as long as you do it the right way. She says you should first apply a product or products that contain humectants and emollients, moisturizing ingredients, your moisturizer, a nice hydrating serum, and then other occlusives. You can start with a serum containing humectants and even add a face oil with emollients if you want. She said the last step would be slugging, using petroleum as the occlusive. Alternatively, you could apply a moisturizer that contains humectants, emollients, and occlusives, and then for an extra occlusive property, you can apply the slugging ointment, whatever you're using, over the top. According to King, the slugging skincare trend is most helpful for those with dry skin or those who are often exposed to dry conditions, or when the weather gets cold, when you tend to get dry skin. But King also recommends being cautious when applying occlusives on top of topical medications because it could increase the potency, creating adverse effects and making your skin sensitive. And on that note, slugging may not be for everyone. According to Dr. Deborah Jalliman, another board-certified dermatologist and author of the book Skin Rules, she says slugging before you go to sleep is fine if you have very dry skin, but not a good idea for acne-prone skin. She says slugging can potentially trap oils and clog the skin's pores and especially irritate acne-prone skin, contributing to breakouts. Now, I don't think there is much evidence backing this up, to be honest with you. When it comes to the comedogenic rating of Vaseline, we don't really go by the comedogenic rating because we aren't rabbit ears, and you have to be using a lot of Vaseline extremely consistently to clog your pores. Now, the term slugging may be new, but the technique has been around for a long time. In an article for Who, What, Where, Tiffany L. Clay, a board-certified dermatologist, said it was recently given a name and made popular by this Korean skincare world. Again, this is a bit of misinformation. It doesn't come from the skincare, the K-beauty world. She goes on to say, however, growing up with two black grandmothers, I was slugging far before it was popular. I remember my grandmother teaching me when I was very young to apply ointment to the body after I bathed to keep me moisturized all day. In fact, many black women on social media are questioning the overnight trend and pointing out that moisturizing with Vaseline has always been an integral part of their skincare routine. Knowing this, it's nice to see on the Vaseline website that they actually have an article about what slugging is and how it works, and it's not only written by an African-American woman, Dr. Michelle Henry, a board-certified dermatologist, but the article also discusses the history of the technique. It says, while this practice might seem new to some people, this ritual has been part of the black community for decades. From using petroleum jelly to protect the skin from the elements, such as the bitter winter months, to using it to lock in moisture to provide the skin with a healthy appearance. Slugging has always played a part in the personal care routine of many black and brown households. Chapter 6: Criticisms of Vaseline. Although Vaseline has produced several hugely popular products as well as benefited from celebrity fans and a viral TikTok trend, not everything has been completely rosy for the company. In fact, the brand receives its fair share of criticism. One of the biggest criticisms aimed at Vaseline is to do with their sustainability. All Vaseline products contain some amount to varying degrees of petroleum jelly. No surprise there, the original Vaseline product is just pure petroleum jelly. Given that petroleum jelly is a byproduct of the oil refining process, it's obviously not a very sustainable product. Oil is toxic to almost all life forms, and when it's extracted during the oil refining process, greenhouse gases are released which contribute to climate change. Now, oil extraction also often leads to oil spills, which obviously aren't good and they're extremely harmful to the planet. Now, petroleum jelly also isn't biodegradable, and as such, it can have a negative impact on the environment. So when it's washed down a drain, it can clog waterways and harm wildlife. Vaseline itself and its supporters say that because petroleum jelly is a byproduct byproduct of the oil refining industry, what Vaseline does is actually helping the environment, because otherwise it would just be a waste of product as a byproduct of the industry and would be sent to landfill or dumped into oceans. Obviously, that's a very reasonable argument, but many people at the end of the day still see petroleum jelly as a non-renewable resource, and the extraction process can lead to environmental damage. So they want the whole oil refining process to end, including Vaseline's part in it. When it comes to sustainability, I have to say, first of all, go ahead and check out Crave Beauty's video on Vaseline. It can debunk a lot of the concerns that people share that I'm sharing here and kind of show some expert opinions on this matter. But when it does come to the sustainability, many consumers also have criticism of Vaseline's product packaging, as much of their packaging is still made from non-recyclable plastic. On their website, they say Vaseline promises to be mindful of the impact they have on the planet and that they are taking steps to improve this, saying that they've already made changes to include more post-consumer recycled materials and to reduce plastic in their bottle designs. They say we started with lotion bottles and we're working on our healing jelly jars next. We don't have the solution just yet, but we are exploring ways we can redesign the healing jelly jar so that they contain less plastic in the future. For many though, that isn't enough. First of all, the packaging redesign for the lotion bottles they're talking about reduce the amount of plastic used by just 3%. I mean, it's a start, but it's not much, but it's always good to see brands start from somewhere. It's impossible to just completely wipe out everything, and I don't think that should be discouraged. Also, they say that they're working on redesigning the healing jelly jar, but still don't have the solution. But the lotion bottle redesign was completed in 2018, so apparently they've been working on it for a while. Been a long time, 6 years, and still haven't found the solution. They still haven't worked out. Come on, come on. Many consumers believe this isn't good enough. It's just not good enough in today's world. With the wealth of knowledge we have, consumers are well educated in this area now. And many feel that Vaseline are just saying that they're working on it to be like, leave us alone. Leave us alone, we're working on it. When in fact, they're doing very little to improve their packaging, supposedly. Others take issue with the brand because Vaseline isn't cruelty-free. Despite China recently relaxing their animal testing laws even further, several trusted cruelty-free accreditors and databases still list Vaseline as not being cruelty-free. Conscious Bunny states that Vaseline itself says it doesn't test on animals and references the website of their parent company Unilever for more information. This means that Vaseline is following the same animal testing policy as Unilever. Unilever also states that they don't support animal testing and are doing their best to ban animal testing completely. However, they also mention the following. Occasionally across our wider product portfolio, some of the ingredients we use have to be tested by our suppliers to comply with legal and regulatory requirements in some markets, and some governments still test certain products on animals as part of their regulations. Unfortunately, Unilever and Vaseline state that they will allow their products and ingredients to be tested on animals if the law requires it. Again, those regulations are relaxing a lot more. But for those reasons, Vaseline is not classed by many as cruelty-free. Since 2023, brands have been able to enter China without animal testing, so companies can now enter the Chinese market without funding animal cruelty. However, Vaseline was available in China before the animal testing laws were relaxed in 2023, and it's not stated that Vaseline changed its approach to avoid animal testing whatsoever. Cruelty-Free Kitty, another trusted website which assesses the cruelty-free status of brands, also agrees that Vaseline is not cruelty-free yet, citing the same issues raised by Conscious Bunny. So for those who don't know, to avoid animal testing in China, because we talk about this a lot in these videos in particular, companies must meet specific criteria, and they must only sell general cosmetics in China, such as makeup, skincare, hair care, nail polish, and perfumes, avoiding selling special cosmetics like sunscreens or hair dye, and refrain from selling products for children and babies, pregnant or breastfeeding individuals, or products containing new cosmetic ingredients. The other main criticism for Vaseline is in regards to whether it's actually good for your skin or not, and I'm going to preface this by saying these videos I mainly talk about both sides of the argument or just say what the issues are. Very rarely my opinion these are more of a question, but I'm just going to tell you now, Vaseline is perfectly safe for you. I will discuss this, but it's perfectly safe for you, but these are the opinions and worries of some people. In an article for the Huffington Post, celebrity makeup artist Katie Deno, whose clients include Amanda Seyfried, Felicity Jones, and Lily Reinhart, she said petroleum jelly can create the illusion of moisturized, hydrated skin, all the while suffocating your pores. It's water repellent and not water soluble, meaning it merely seals the barrier so that moisture does not leave the skin. So whilst you might feel the instant gratification of a softened surface, you're actually drying out your pores by keeping air out and by keeping out air and moisture. None of that's true. That doesn't mean shit. Drying out your pores? No, it's just full of shit. Sorry, that's not true. Now, despite Vaseline's website claiming that their products are non-comedogenic, meaning that it doesn't clog your pores, Deno says that the thick texture makes it difficult to cleanse from the skin. So to never cover your unwashed face in Vaseline to help avoid breakouts. That's true. It should always be applied to clean skin. In the same article, Dr. Alan Datner, another board-certified dermatologist, said that people suffering from skin conditions like acne and rosacea should stay away from petroleum jelly altogether, since thick emollients can aggravate those conditions. I'm not aware of that. This is a common concern shared by many people, really, when it comes to people thinking that Vaseline stops your skin breathing. Our skin doesn't stop breathing. It doesn't need to breathe. They say that Vaseline can also interfere with the skin's ability to naturally moisturize itself. Again, not a thing. You can't over moisturize your skin. Your skin doesn't get lazy because you moisturize it. Now, there are a lot of people who are actually concerned that Vaseline could cause cancer. And although the product is generally considered safe, they're obviously worried that oils contain carcinogens, as does unrefined petroleum jelly. Dr. Datner had this to say on the topic. Vaseline supposedly has all these components removed, but there are probably plenty of petroleum jelly imitators, and one doesn't always know the extent that they're removed. Which I think is a fair enough comment, but this seems more like fear-mongering though. Vaseline does contain mineral oils, and unrefined mineral oils often contain PAHs, which can increase risk of certain forms of cancer when consumed orally, which is why Vaseline now only recommends their products for topical use, and definitely aren't recommending you eat it like their founder used to. This petroleum jelly, Vaseline, is so refined, so refined. You'll find a minuscule amount on it in this. A minuscule amount of it, so even if you did consume it, you're still not going to run into any cancer-causing risks. Chapter 7, Charity Work and the Future of Vaseline. Vaseline certainly hasn't been perfect over the years, and isn't perfect now. Many of the criticism they receive are valid concerns, with some carrying more weight than others. But Vaseline has made some attempt to make up for their shortcomings through their charity work, and some do consider the brand to be fairly socially responsible. They have an ongoing partnership with Direct Relief for over 9 years now, through the Vaseline Healing Project, which launched in 2015. This partnership helps to support a network of non-profit health centers and clinics that provide affordable and comprehensive services to those who need them the most. Direct Relief is the 5th largest charity in the US, and they say they work to equip health professionals in resource-poor communities to meet the challenges of diagnosing and caring for people in need. They operate in the US and throughout the world, providing international humanitarian aid in over 80 countries. The idea for the Healing Project stemmed from the insights of dermatologist Dr. Grace Bando and Dr. Sam Ajaber, who highlighted Vaseline petroleum jelly as one of the highest priority supplies to treat people suffering from skin conditions in refugee camps following a mission trip to Jordan. Vaseline says that through this partnership, they aim to provide access to critical skin health care and education to people around the world. They've apparently helped 1 million people per year since 2015, and their goal is to triple that by 2025. Since the start of the partnership, Direct Relief has managed the distribution of more than 1 million units of Vaseline products annually, with Vaseline's products being included in personal care packs, obstetric fistula modules, hurricane preparedness packs, emergency medical backpacks, and midwife kits. Vaseline are one of the only brands who seem to take skin of color and black skin into consideration when it comes to the often inherently racist skincare world, cosmetics world. Vaseline partnered with digital health company HUED and medical informatics company Visual DX in 2022 in an attempt to improve the quality of care for Black, Latin, and Indigenous populations. The result was the See My Skin website, an online database designed to search for skin conditions for people of color and then connect users with proper care. Now, when it comes to seeking information about how to treat certain skincare conditions for black skin and people of color, they're often met with less than adequate solutions, and their skin tones are almost never seen in image-based results. And in studies, research published by the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology found that fewer than 6% of image-based search results showed conditions on skin of color and black skin. Kevin Tolson, brand director of the US skincare at Unilever, said whether it's looking for answers in search or on social media or even in textbooks, the results that resemble skin of color are scarce, which can leave us feeling unseen and underrepresented. We created See My Skin so that people with melanin-rich skin could finally see skin conditions on themselves. Our goal is to provide solutions that ensure communities are equipped to get the care that everyone deserves. This is a step in that direction. See My Skin, which launched in April April of 2022 offers education access and visual data to reduce healthcare bias by improving clinical decisions through visualization. A further partnership with Medscape has allowed Vaseline to provide funding to support the development of continuing medical education to equip dermatologists and medical practitioners to better treat, diagnose, and care for skin of color. These learning modules cover treatment for common skin conditions such as acne and scarring, dermatitis, have you ever seen rosacea on black skin? Is very different to what I've got on mine, and atopic dermatitis specific to skin of color and black skin. This is amazing to hear, and the kind of things big conglomerates like Unilever and L'Oreal should be doing and funding. And it sounds like they will be continuing to help provide charitable support in the future, with the brand stating that they want to create 15 million more equitable skincare experiences by 2025. Whether it's enough to outweigh the negatives of Vaseline's practices is up to you. Vaseline, like most companies, isn't perfect. They've done some good things and helped a lot of people, and they've done some bad things, damaging the environment and hurting some people too. But with 150 years of history, it's very unlikely that Vaseline's going anywhere anytime soon. With so many uses and a host of celebrity fans and a new wave of customers from social media, Vaseline is probably here to stay. Let's just hope that their future contains more charity work and advocating for racial equality in skincare and less animal cruelty and damaging of the environment.